The rain hammered against the windows of our small cottage in the Cotswolds, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. For years, our life with my wife, Bronwyn, had been a picture of idyllic tranquility. I'm Tobias, 46, and I work as a software engineer. We met at a coding conference in Brighton a lifetime ago, or so it felt now. Bronwyn, with her fiery red hair and infectious laughter, had swept me off my feet. We married within a year, bought this little slice of paradise, and settled into a comfortable routine. Or so I thought. Recently, though, a subtle shift had occurred. Bronwyn, a talented ceramic artist, had always been passionate about her work. But lately, she was spending an inordinate amount of time at her studio, often claiming late nights and weekend workshops. Initially, I was supportive, proud of her dedication. But small things started to prick at me. The scent of an unfamiliar cologne clinging to her clothes, the hushed phone calls she'd take outside, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, the way she'd flinch when I touched her, a subtle withdrawal that cut deeper than any spoken word. I tried to dismiss it, attributing it to stress, to the pressures of her upcoming exhibition. I told myself I was being paranoid, that our love was strong enough to withstand any minor turbulence. But the unease persisted, a gnawing feeling in the pit of my stomach. One evening, I decided to surprise her at the studio. I brought a takeaway curry from our favorite Indian restaurant, hoping to share a quiet meal together amidst her clay creations. The studio was located in a converted barn on the outskirts of town, a place that always felt magical, filled with the earthy aroma of clay and the soft glow of the kiln. As I approached, I noticed a car parked outside, a sleek silver Audi I didn't recognize. I frowned, assuming it belonged to a client or a fellow artist. I pushed open the heavy wooden door, the familiar scent of clay hitting me like a comforting embrace. But the scene that unfolded before me shattered that comfort into a million pieces. Bronwyn was locked in a passionate embrace with a man I'd never seen before. His back was to me, but I could see the possessive way he held her, the way his hands roamed her body. Bronwyn's eyes were closed, her face flushed with desire, her lips parted in a silent invitation. The curry slipped from my grasp, splattering against the floor with a sickening thud. The sound startled them apart. Bronwyn's eyes widened in horror as she saw me standing there, my face a mask of disbelief and pain. The man turned around, revealing a handsome, arrogant face, a smug smirk playing on his lips. He was younger than me, probably in his early 30s, with a confident swagger that instantly repulsed me. Tobias, Bronwyn stammered, her voice trembling. It's not what you think, really. Because it looks exactly like what I think, I said, my voice dangerously low. It looks like my wife is cheating on me in her art studio with some gigolo. Man chuckled, a low, condescending sound. Gigolo, that's rich. I'm Julian, by the way. And Bronwyn and I have a connection you clearly can't provide. I wanted to lunge at him, to wipe that smirk off his face. But I was frozen, paralyzed by the sheer magnitude of the betrayal. The woman I loved, the woman I had built my life with, was standing before me, brazenly admitting to an affair with this parasite. Long? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Bronwyn looked down, shamefaced. A few months, she mumbled. It just happened, I repeated, incredulous. You just accidentally fell into bed with this guy. You just accidentally decided to betray our marriage, our vows, our life together. It's not that simple, Tobias, she said, her voice rising in defense. You've been so distant lately. You're always working, always buried in your computer. You don't pay attention to me anymore. That's bullshit, Bronwyn, I retorted, my anger finally boiling over. I work to provide for us, to give you the life you wanted. And you repay me by sleeping with another man. Julian stepped forward, placing a possessive hand on Bronwyn's arm. Back off, old man. Bronwyn deserves to be happy, and you're clearly not making her happy, that was it. Something snapped inside me. I lunged at Julian, grabbing him by the collar and shoving him against the wall. He yelped in surprise, his eyes widening in fear. Stay away from my wife, I snarled, my face inches from his. You stay away from my life. If I ever see you near her again, I'll make you regret the day you were born. I released him, shoving him away with disgust. He stumbled back, clutching his throat and glaring at me with hatred. I turned to Bronwyn, my heart aching with a pain I had never known before. "I'm done," I said, my voice flat. "I'm done with this marriage. I'm done with you." I walked out of the studio, leaving Bronwyn standing there with her lover, the rain still pounding against the windows, washing away the last vestiges of our life together. The next few weeks were a blur of lawyers, paperwork, and sleepless nights. I moved out of our cottage, finding a small apartment in the city. The silence was deafening, the emptiness a constant reminder of what I had lost. I tried to understand, to make sense of what had happened. Had I really been so blind? Had I truly failed to see the unhappiness in Bronwyn's eyes? Or was she simply a selfish, deceitful woman who was never satisfied with what she had? The more I thought about it, the more I realized that the cracks in our marriage had been there for a while. The subtle criticisms, the passive-aggressive comments, the increasing emotional distance, I had simply ignored them, hoping they would eventually fade away. But they hadn't faded away. They had festered, creating an opening for someone like Julian to come in and exploit Bronwyn's vulnerabilities. And she had let him. As the divorce proceedings dragged on, I discovered more and more about Bronwyn's affair. Julian was a wealthy art collector, a patron of the arts who had been showering her with attention and gifts. He had promised her fame and fortune, a chance to escape our quiet life in the Cotswolds and become a celebrated artist. Bronwyn, it turned out, had been seduced by the allure of success, by the promise of a life that was bigger and more glamorous than the one we had built together. She had sacrificed our love, our marriage, our future, for a fleeting moment of validation. The realization filled me with a profound sense of disgust. I had loved her unconditionally, supported her dreams, and given her everything she ever wanted. And she had thrown it all away for a shallow, narcissistic man who saw her as nothing more than a trophy. As the divorce neared its completion, I started to think about revenge. Not the violent, destructive kind, but the kind that would truly hurt Bronwyn, the kind that would expose her for the selfish, deceitful person she had become. I knew that her upcoming exhibition was crucial to her career. It was her chance to prove herself, to gain recognition in the art world. And I knew that Julian was planning to use his influence to promote her, to ensure that her work received rave reviews. I decided to sabotage her exhibition, not by destroying her art or spreading rumors, but by revealing the truth about her affair, about her betrayal, about the kind of person she really was. I contacted a local newspaper, anonymously providing them with evidence of Bronwyn's affair with Julian. I included photographs, text messages, and even a recording of a conversation I had overheard between them, where they discussed their plans to deceive me and exploit my generosity. The newspaper ran the story on the front page, exposing Bronwyn's affair to the world. The article painted her as a manipulative gold digger who had betrayed her loving husband for fame and fortune. It also revealed Julian's role in the affair, portraying him as a predatory art collector who preyed on vulnerable artists. The fallout was immediate and devastating. Bronwyn's exhibition was cancelled, her reputation was ruined, and Julian's standing in the art world plummeted. They were both ostracized, condemned by their peers and ridiculed by the public. I watched it all unfold with a sense of grim satisfaction. I had taken my revenge, not by resorting to violence or petty acts of vandalism, but by exposing the truth. I had shown the world the kind of person Bronwyn really was, and she had paid the price. But as the dust settled, I realized that my revenge had not brought me the satisfaction I had expected. Yes, Bronwyn had been punished for her betrayal, but I was still left with the pain of her loss, the emptiness of our shattered dreams. I realized that true revenge wasn't about hurting Bronwyn, but about healing myself, about moving on with my life and finding happiness again. I started to focus on my work, throwing myself into coding and developing new software. I reconnected with old friends, spending weekends hiking in the Peak District and exploring new restaurants in the city. I even started taking a pottery class, finding a surprising sense of peace and creativity in shaping clay. Slowly but surely, I began to rebuild my life. I learned to forgive myself for the mistakes I had made in the marriage, for the things I had overlooked, for the love I had given so freely. And I learned to forgive Bronwyn, not for her sake, but for my own. I realized that holding onto anger and resentment would only poison my own soul, preventing me from moving forward. One day, I received a letter from Bronwyn. She apologized for her betrayal, admitting that she had been foolish and selfish. She said that she had lost everything because of her actions and that she regretted hurting me more than anything else. I didn't reply to her letter. I didn't need to. I had already found my closure, my peace. I had moved on with my life, leaving Bronwyn and her lover to wallow in their own misery. Years passed. I met someone new, a kind and compassionate woman named Eleanor who loved me for who I was, flaws and all. We married and built a new life together, filled with love, laughter, and mutual respect. One afternoon, I was browsing through an art gallery when I saw a familiar piece of pottery. It was one of Bronwyn's creations, a delicate vase with intricate floral designs. I paused, staring at it for a moment, memories flooding back. The gallery owner approached me, noticing my interest. "That's a piece by Bronwyn," she said. "She's been trying to make a comeback after a rough patch. She's really talented, but it's been hard for her to regain her reputation." I nodded, acknowledging her words. I felt a pang of sympathy for Bronwyn, but it was fleeting. She had made her choices, and she had to live with the consequences. I thanked the gallery owner and walked away, leaving the vase behind. I had no desire to revisit the past, to dwell on the pain and betrayal. I was content with my present, with the love and happiness I had found with Eleanor. As I walked out of the gallery, the sun was shining brightly, casting a warm glow on the city streets. I took a deep breath, feeling grateful for the life I had, for the lessons I had learned, and for the strength I had found within myself to overcome adversity. Bronwyn's betrayal had been a painful chapter in my life, but it had also been a catalyst for growth and change. It had taught me the importance of self-respect, the value of forgiveness, and the power of moving on. And in the end, that was the greatest revenge of all. It wasn't about punishing Bronwyn, but about finding my own happiness, about building a life that was stronger and more fulfilling than the one I had lost. My story is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, to the ability to overcome even the most devastating betrayals and emerge stronger and wiser on the other side. It's a reminder that revenge is a dish best served cold, but that forgiveness is the ultimate act of self-preservation. In the end, Bronwyn's affair wasn't just a betrayal of our marriage, but a betrayal of herself. She sacrificed her integrity, her values, and her happiness for a fleeting moment of validation. And she paid the price. And me? I found my peace, my happiness, and my true self. And that's a victory worth more than any revenge. As I share this deeply personal account, I hope my experiences resonate and offer solace to anyone navigating the treacherous waters of infidelity. Remember, you are not alone. Your strength lies in resilience, and your future holds the promise of healing and renewed happiness.